Benzino. Did Benzino tell on anybody? Is Benzino a rat? Is Benzino a snitch? Him and Wack 100 is getting into it, right? Let's do some backstory first. This was a while ago. This was back in 2014. That's over 10 years ago, people. March 31st, 2014, this article went up. Boston rapper shot in funeral procession says late mom saved him. You know what a funeral procession is, right? That's like the motorcade, right? So like let's say you're at a wake, right? A wake is, you're there, the family is grieving. Maybe there's a closed or open casket there. Maybe there's services there, pastor there, prayers, music. Um, we know what a wake is, right? And then the funeral procession is now you're going to see everybody get in this motorcade. That's when everybody turns their flashing lights on, and you might all be following each other to, like, let's say the burial site, you know, and then she is, or he or she, whatever, is put into the ground. Okay. So on the way to the funeral, or during the funeral procession, is when the shooting happened. Okay. And this is a picture of Benzino up in the hospital. Looks like he took one to the arm. Okay. The well known Boston rap star Benzino told his Instagram followers from his hospital bed at South Shore Hospital Sunday that he believes his late mother may have helped spare his life. Benzino, who was 48 at the time, remember now, in July, he's turning 60. So this was when he was 48 years old, whose given name, Raymond, was shot during a funeral procession for his mother, Mary Scott, en route to Duxbury Saturday afternoon. All right, Raymond Scott, who is both rapper and reality TV star, was shot by his nephew, who was 36 years old at the time. The Plymouth County District Attorney's Office said, "Feel much better." Raymond Scott posted to his nearly 200,000 Instagram followers, "God is real. My mother touched me. I'm certain." Benzino also said, who was shot in the arm and back, told News Center 5 he could not identify the person who shot him, and that he and his nephew had not spoken in several years. So at least at the time of this article, 10 years ago, they are saying that in the article that he didn't say nothing about who hit him in the article. All right. However, he acknowledged family disputes involving his mother and money. So he told, this could be the press he's talking to or whoever, but he did pretty much allude to it being a family issue. If you're not going to say who did it and take that stance, then don't even say what it was over. Because if you're saying it's over a family dispute, then they're going to say that, okay, then somebody in your family shot you. Right. So this is one of those things where, depending how you stand, people will say rat, didn't rat, talk too much, shouldn't have said this, whatever. I'm not a street nigga, so I don't really care too much about that to dissect that, whatever. In the past, I felt my sister and nephew were taking advantage of my mother. Benzino told New Center 5. So why is he telling him that? Money sometimes takes over people's love for each other, even family. Money and greed don't want anyone taking advantage of your mother. So it could be over a will, could be over the mother who passed away's assets being split between the family. We see that type of stuff happen all the time. But at some point, when the cars were side by side, this was the nephew allegedly fired several shots. Actually, he was convicted of this. Several shots into the Dodge SUV being driven by Benzino, the district attorney said. Asked if the argument was over money or enough to have someone shoot him, Benzino said, "People get shot for less. At the end of the day, you have to ask them." Not the greatest answer, but not the worst answer. Right? There were shell casings everywhere. There were 4 holes up the side of the vehicle, which started in the rear, and then, all right. So let's leave that for a second. Saying that type of stuff to News Center 5, I wouldn't say is the greatest at all if you're a street nigga, right? No way. Even if you say, "Nah, my nephew didn't do it and I haven't spoken to him in years." But the things that he did say to News Center 5, prosecution would absolutely use against him, right? So that's as far as the news article goes. But this is what Wack just posted. And this is where it gets compounded pretty badly. So cross-examination, we know what a cross-examination is, right? That means you're up there, right? You're testifying. All right. Question, Mr. Scott, do you also wear contacts or do you wear your prescription sunglasses all the time? Answer, sometimes contacts, sometimes prescription. Question, but today you decided to wear your prescription sunglasses for court. Answer, yes or yep. Question, in any event, do you have taken photographs without your prescription sunglasses? Is that fair to say? The answer, sometimes with glasses, sometimes without glasses. Question, in any event, sir, with respect to your testimony here today, let's start off with your claim that you couldn't attend the funeral because you were shot. Once again, because they were on their way, that motorcade, right? Do you remember that testimony on direct examination, sir? His answer, say again. So we see what Wack is going for here, right? Part of me feels like if Wack could have fully buried Benzino paperwork wise, he would. If that's the only thing in his possession, I don't know how you get only one screenshot. If somebody has this screenshot somewhere, somebody could have the full thing, right? There's a little gray area there because if he's testifying and he's up there saying my cousin or my nephew didn't do it, I don't know nothing about that. Who shot you? I don't know, etc., etc., etc. Because here's the thing about testifying. Let's get to this once and for all. I'm not a street nigga, right? So some people would say I'm not qualified. Fine, no problem. I ain't getting into my past. I ain't getting into my present. I ain't getting into what I project for my future to try to prove to you whether you think I can have a valid opinion on this or not. Maybe I'm just applying logic, right? Either way, logic, experience, whatever angle I'm coming from with my opinion, you guys can determine whether I'm valid or not. That's on y'all. Testifying, no. You realize that people can be held, was it contempt or you could serve jail time if you are subpoenaed. If they get their hands on you and you don't show up, you can just face jail time for that. It's not about what you say or don't say. It's, hey, we know that you were at the scene of the crime. We got our hands on you. We subpoena you. And if you don't show up, welcome to some jail time, right? You can get up there and maybe plead the fifth. You can get up there and maybe say, I don't remember. You can get up there and say, I have no clue what the fuck you talking about. If that's the testimony and you testified, are you going to be labeled a snitch? Not by me. Not by me. See, like T.I., right? T.I. took the stand because he got subpoenas. It's like, no, we got you. And they put him up there. And if I remember correctly, I don't think he directly said anything about people in particular. I don't think he did. I think what they really be getting T.I. on, they be playing with his name, is two things. Number one, people always say, why you get so little time with the type of shit that you had, silences and automatic weapons and whatnot. That's one thing they play with his name about. The second thing that I remember is the 1-800 number that he did, right? Like the Crime Stoppers commercial that he did. That be like circumstances of like your parole and shit. You know, they did some of that to Meek. They, you know, we're gonna give you parole. We're gonna, you know, in the midst of your plea deal, young thug, you got to show up to 5 schools per year. You got to give a speech. You got to come over here and you got to shake the mayor's hand. You know, you got to come over here and do this public representation and preach positivity. You know, or T.I., you have to do a 1-800 Crime Stoppers commercial. Okay, so those are the things. Those are most of the things that I remember them playing with T.I. about. To me, taking the stand doesn't mean that you automatically snitch. I feel like people are evolving that right in front of our face. They're saying, if you testify, you are a snitch. Now, is there some street code that's happening amongst you gangsters to say, we would rather you just take the time, whether you are subpoenaed or not? The moment that you sit in that seat, you are a snitch. That's our rule. Then y'all play by that rule. I'm not in that world, right? But to me, logically, if I got subpoenaed and I got up there and I said, Big K? Nah, like I just book him for rap battles. All right, well, what about the event in question? Word is he punched somebody in the face and you were standing right there. Big K? I never see Big K punch somebody in the face. Big K's not even like that. Big K is one of the softest people, one of the most gentle, kindest people you will ever meet. He would never harm somebody. Yeah, well, we have a victim and we have pictures of somebody with a bloody nose. I never saw no victim. I never saw no bloody nose. I never saw Big K hit somebody. I have no clue. I didn't see this, people. I'm sorry. Yeah, but you there promote and drop trailers endorsing violent lyrics and some of this type of behavior. No, I run an RBE rap battle platform. That's the nature of the art that we bring to the fans. It's a form of hip hop. I've never seen Big K or any artist that I know of to actually conduct themselves outside of the artistry. Now, if that's my testimony, people, are you going to call me a rat, even if I'm a street nigga? What I just said, are you going to call me a rat? I'll tell you, and I'm not a street nigga. If I saw somebody give that testimony that I just gave, I'm never going to call him a rat. So y'all decide if y'all want to follow this new rule that's being created. If you take the stand and you testify, automatically you're a rat. I disagree with it. I don't think it's logical, but y'all do what y'all want. I'm over here paying my taxes and being a civilian. Y'all do what y'all want with that. So I'm calling that out because Wack, you are onto something here. You are, to be fair. But I don't see the rest. What did he say while he was up there? Did he say what we saw in the article, which is, nah, my nephew ain't had nothing to do with this. I haven't even spoken to him yet. I don't know. Now, is that what Benzino did? Or did he get up there and implicate or say things that possibly could have been problematic for the nephew? By the way, I think the nephew actually was convicted. I think he was found guilty, but I think his terms were light, if I remember correctly. I think he might have got like probation or something like that. But it doesn't matter, you know. It would still come down to what did Benzino say up there? Did he say things that were incriminating? Did he say things that can harm the nephew's defense? Or did he just flat out get up there and say, yeah, he's the one that shot me? I don't know that. So all Wack is showing me is that Benzino testified. Okay? Y'all tell me how y'all feel about this rule of if you testify, use a rat. I'll tell you a rule that I understand you street niggas and gangsters standing on that I could understand. It's not the if you testify, use a rat automatically. It's the type of circumstances in which you would take a plea deal. That's what people get at gun about. I could understand you guys going at that. For example, if me and two of my co-defendants get apprehended for robbing a bank and two of them is taking it to trial and saying, and with them and their own personal legal counsel saying, I wasn't even there. I didn't rob no bank. And I come and I plead out and then say, yes, I robbed the bank. I don't even got to say I robbed it with those two people. It's just saying, yes, because you got all three of us together. Maybe you got footage of three of our faces or whatever. Now, even if those guys probably was going to get convicted because of the evidence, just me simply pleading out, right? They could use that in their trial. Will they not? You never know. But just, you could look at that. Once again, I'll leave that up to you street niggas. How do you feel about that? If you plead out for things that your co-defendants are fighting, they say John Gotti created that rule, right? Like, in my team, nobody's allowed to take pleas. I don't give a fuck if you're facing life. I don't care if it's death penalty. I don't care if it's big or small. Nobody is ever accepting a plea deal on my team. Y'all decide.